Every cold case starts with one moment when something completely ordinary quietly stops becoming ordinary. For the family on Graydon Avenue, this moment came on December 21st of 1983. The family was busy getting ready for the holidays. They decorated the house inside and out, adding to the creeping anticipation of Christmas morning. Nothing was unusual. The kids went to school, the husband went to work, or so everybody believed. But by lunchtime, one unanswered phone call began unraveling a mystery that is still unsolved to this day, over 40 years later. My name is Molly.
I'm Abram.
And I'm Kenzie.
And this is Carol Zastudil's story.
Before we begin, we would like to say a quick disclaimer. We are not accusing anyone of killing Carol or being a suspect. This is just based off the information that we have gathered from newspapers, public records, Carol's son Eric, and the help of local law enforcement. Due to the profound amount of time that this case has been cold, we do still have several questions we would like answered, and we will gladly take any of your questions following this.
Carol Ann Zastudil of Massillon, Ohio, was known as one of the kindest and most caring women anyone could ever meet. She was honest, warm, and endlessly giving, and not only a devoted mother to two, but a best friend and genuine source of comfort. She was remembered as a hard worker and spent her life protecting and taking care of her family and friends. Her legacy is one of compassion, strength, and a heart big enough to hold everyone around her. Carol's son Eric has a few things he would like to say about his mother.
Very honest, very caring. She was a mother to everybody. And, she was I can't say anything bad about her. As a son,
The morning of December 21st was just like any other. The husband left for work and the kids were getting ready for school. Carol's son Eric woke up feeling ill. Carol highly urged him to go to school as it was the last day before winter break and she didn't want him to regret not going to school. As the kids head to the bus stop, Carol begins to get ready for work. She goes into the daughter's bedroom and slips on her brown and beige uniform. At this time, Carol should be heading to work. This time frame between 8:45 and 12 p.m., we have no account of what has happened. Around 12 p.m., the nurse calls Carol as Eric is too ill to remain at school. She calls Carol's work phone, no response. She calls home, no response. At this point, the nurse calls the stepfather as Eric's father would not be able to retrieve him from the school. The stepfather picks up and leaves his job at Perry Rubber Company to head to Eric's school. The two pull into the driveway. As they head inside, they go to the garage door, but instead the son is directed to the side garage door. As they enter the garage, they see Carol's car. Maybe she came home early, or maybe she never left the house. Eric barges past his stepfather, and eager to set his things down, to see his mother, his best friend. The two search the house, moving west until they arrive together at the daughter's bedroom door. What was behind that door is something that poor 12-year-old Eric will never forget. His mother on the ground,
she was
brutally
probably one.
Following this discovery, Eric was sent 2 doors down to the neighbors by his stepfather to call the police. They shortly arrived after the call, and Carol was pronounced dead at 1:20 p.m. The police continued their investigation, going door to door, talking to neighbors to ask if they had seen or heard anything from that day. It seemed that the neighbors did not hear or see anything that day. Carol was taken to the doctor's hospital morgue and was examined by the chief deputy coroner and pathologist at the Stark County Coroner's Office. Her clothing was sent to the Stark County Crime Lab, and her jewelry was returned to her family.
Eric told us that there was a small blood sample which was pulled from a blood drop found in the garage. Eric also said skin cells were pulled from underneath Carol's fingernails. DNA was said to have been tested at this time, but we are unaware of any results. DNA was retested in 2020 by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations when the Ohio Attorney General's Cold Case Unit and the Perry Township Police Department teamed up to review Carol's case. The evidence was submitted for modern testing, but did not yield a conclusive DNA profile for the killer. However, they were able to determine the offender as a male because of a present Y chromosome found in the blood drop.
With the help of the Perry Township Police Department, we were able to retrieve the initial police report. This document is quite vague and did not provide us with much new information. Carol's death was initially investigated as a robbery homicide, as the stepfather reported cash missing from the home. Allegedly, around 2 months prior, Carol had encountered an unknown intruder in the middle of the night while she was up getting a glass of water. There is no confirmed source for this information, and we found it in a news article from 1983.
Here is a bird's eye view of 2668 Graydon Avenue Southwest. We were unable to retrieve a floor plan, but found this map that divides the house up. As you can see, to the best of our abilities, we have identified where the bedrooms are located, as well as the stepfather and Eric's points of entrance. Eric will now walk you through what happened when he arrived home from school.
When we first walked into the house, my stepdad pushed me back. Now, what's really weird about this is that, we always went inside the house through the big garage door. We used the clicker, open up the big garage door, walk in through the garage, through the side door, or to the house door. And that morning, that did not happen. We never opened the garage door. We went in through the side garage door, and at that time, he pushed me back and told me to wait. And of course, I'm not going to listen. I'm 12 years old. So, that was also strange. So as soon as we entered the house, we started yelling for her because her car was in the garage. And so we knew she was home. And just no response. And before you know it, we made it to the west side of the house. And that's where all the bedrooms were. And of course, mine was the first bedroom on the left. My sister's was straight ahead. My mom's bedroom was on the right. And I made it into my room. I put my book bag down and my school books. And I came out into the hallway, and we walked into my sister's bedroom, and that's where we found her. My sister had a couple closets in her bedroom, so my mom had so many clothes that she had to have an overflow in my sister's second closet. Those were usually her work clothes, so not uncommon for her to go in that room. And that's pretty much what that is where they found her, or we found her. And it was just the bedroom was destroyed. It was very bloody. She was halfway in the closet, so I never really got to see her face at that time, but I saw everything else, and it was a complete disaster.
Thanks to Stephanie Borsmith at the Akron Beacon Journal, we were able to receive the coroner's report. Carol's cause of death was hypovolemia, also known as extreme blood loss. Along with it, she also had blunt force trauma. In her attack, Carol faced 24 stab wounds, 23 incised wounds, 12 abrasions, and 1 laceration, and her blunt force attack caused a brain bleed in the back of her head.
Carol was pronounced dead at the scene by the Stark County Coroner Dr. James R. Pritchard at 1:20 in the afternoon. Rigor mortis was present in the jaw and beginning in her arms, meaning that it had been about 2 to 6 hours since her death. 6 hours prior to the examination would have been 7 o'clock in the morning, and 2 hours prior to the examination would have been 11 o'clock in the morning. Some sources believe that it happened around 9 to 10 in the morning. Carol was dressed and ready for work in her brown and beige uniform. Her blouse was fully buttoned, which suggests that there was no sexual assault.
Carol's toxicology report came back clear, meaning at the time of her death, she was not intoxicated by any substances. This may suggest the offender wanted her to be awake or alive during the attack, or it could also just mean that she was going about her day-to-day routine and just there was nothing different. Carol's death was ultimately ruled a homicide despite the robbery-homicide investigation angle made by the Perry Township Police Department. The injuries to her fingers, hands, arms, and face suggest that Carol fought back or had struggled. These things could have been used as a source of protection against her offender. Carol also faced 24 stab wounds on her face, chest, torso, hands, and arms. Her neck was cut so severely that she was nearly decapitated. Her throat was slashed, and cutting her windpipe in her esophagus. She also had a skull fracture that started on the left side of her head, moving down towards the middle, which caused a brain bleed in the back of her head.
The FBI conducted a behavioral assessment of the crime scene to help paint a profile of the offender. They concluded that the offender was most likely male due to the amount of blood and the overall aggression of the crime scene. They also concluded that the offender likely knew Carol personally because it was a violent and personal attack. Supporting this, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 76% of female victims are killed by someone they know. The FBI also concluded that it was not a robbery, as more often than not, robbers don't want to hurt anyone, and if they get caught, it's usually quick, either a gunshot or a stab, for easy escape. Statistics indicate that less than 1% of all robberies in the U.S. result in a victim's death. Finally, the FBI concluded that the offender knew the home, because there was no forced entry, phone cards all throughout the house, including a secret one hidden under Eric's bed, had all been cut, and the only drawer open in the master bedroom was the one where they kept cash. Once again, we would like to say that we are not accusing anyone of killing Carol or being a suspect. This is just based off the information that we have gathered.
We would like to start off with our first person of interest, R. Like Kenzie said, it wouldn't be uncommon for him to know the house and the family very well. It would not be uncommon for things like his DNA to be found in the house, and he would know those minute details like the hidden secret phone cord under the son's bed and the secret cash drawer in the master bedroom. Because the company that R worked at no longer exists, we were unable to personally verify his alibi at the time of Carol's death beyond the fact that he answered the phone while he was at work. We have 3 possible motives that help us point to why we believe R may be a person of interest. The first possible motive is money. The family told us that at the time of her death, there was a rumored life insurance policy taken out. Neither us or the family were able to confirm this, but this could be a very possible motive. The next one is jealousy or another relationship. At the time of Carol's death, R was alleged to be having an affair with another woman. Shortly after Carol's death, he did marry this other woman and moved out of state. Lastly, we have anger. The son, Eric, told us that at the time of Carol's death, R and the mother had been fighting and disputing a lot. He had said that she was crying more often and just seemed visibly upset and in distress. R did take a polygraph, which he told Akron Beacon Journal went fine, I guess.
Our second person of interest is Kenneth Roth. We first heard about Kenneth Roth in a USA Today article that mentioned him in regards to another murder case. Around 2 years after Carol's passing, a woman was murdered around the same area and in a similar manner. Roth was a prime suspect in this case, but was never directly convicted of her murder. It was believed that this woman and Carol potentially dated the same man in the past, which could be a connection between them. However, we have cleared Roth as a person of interest in our case because during the time of Carol's murder, he was in prison in Kansas for a separate murder charge. In 2020, Roth died in prison from COVID-19.
Our final person of interest is the unknown intruder. Before her murder, Carol allegedly saw an unknown intruder in the house in the middle of the night while she was up getting a glass of water. It's possible that this alleged intruder was scoping out the house or finding entry points. Eric told us that it is also possible that this alleged unknown intruder was the boyfriend of Carol's daughter. We don't know much about this boyfriend, but Eric told us that Carol wasn't a huge fan of him, and she thought he was a little bit on the trouble side. The only source that mentioned this boyfriend was Eric himself. However, mid-2025, a USA Today article referenced the alleged intruder. Eric had never heard of this alleged intruder before, which he described as odd, as him and his mom were best friends. There is no official report of this alleged unknown intruder.
We would like to take a moment to thank the people that helped make today possible. We would like to start with the son of Carol Zastudil, Eric Hoffman. He was very willing from the very beginning to talk to us, help us, give us information, and provide us with the pictures within this presentation today. We would also like to thank Stephanie Warsmith from the Akron Beacon Journal, Paula Schleiss from the Ohio Unsolved Mystery Podcast, Detective Jeff Smallwood from the Cincinnati Police Department, Detective Danielle Pajorek in the Perry Township Police Department, Mr. Hubbard for just kind of picking our brains, helping us out, asking us any questions. And lastly, we would like to thank Mr. Berry for just helping us overall. He was always there for us, always giving us advice, new alleyways, new questions, and just helping our case evolve overall.
Anyone who may have information regarding this case can reach out to the Stark County Police Department at 330-478-5121 or the lead detective, Danielle Pajorek, at 330-477-4074. You can also contact us at coldcase@masonohioschools.com or at 513-444-8057. Carol Zastudil was more than just a case. She was a loving mother to all, a loyal friend, and a light in so many people's lives. She gave her whole heart to others, finding joy in simple things like camping trips, roses, and time with those she loved. She deserves to be remembered as for how she lived, and to have her story brought to justice. Thank you for allowing us to share her story with you today.